Because see, the Nuggets aren't trading anyone. Did he get posterized by some random dude like on Friday or something? Hmm. That is spectacular. Spectacularly bad. Oh, gotcha. So they just don't. Yeah, we all make bad choices, you know. 1 for 2. 1 for 2, huh? Apparently, they're now what, a game and a half out of second or something. Hmm. Must be nice. Yeah, we're out in the play-in, so hashtag right side. No kidding. No kid. You don't say that you're relying on you guys and two white boys might not be the best move. You don't say. I think they're upgrades, but I think they need to make more. Hmm. Lonzo. Hmm. Allegedly. But the whole thing is, I'm like, I just don't. I love Lonzo. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he fits what they need. I mean, I know he's a better defender, but it's like they need. If they get him, it's like you have to get another shooter, unless you think, oh, because the whole thing is, and I said this before, despite what my friends may think, I think it would take one of the white boys to get him. Unfortunately, so probably wise, yeah, just to make it work. Yeah, like you were saying, yeah, and it was like, so we just get those. We're just bringing them back. It's 21 million. Yeah, it's 21 million. Yeah, so I'm just like I don't see them trade. I just don't see it happening. I Yeah, unless you can weasel them into being like, hey, we'll give you Vanderbilt because you guys aren't competing, and maybe you can get trade Vanderbilt for for a couple more assets, which is I probably feasible, but it's like I yeah, so I don't yeah, so I just I don't see a whole lot in that regard where it's just I don't think it. Hmm. 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 Yeah, unfortunately. I the whole thing is it's one of those bits with the Lakers because I don't follow them passively. I follow them very passively. So a lot of the stuff they do, I'm just like I don't care. Like truth be told, part of me just wants LeBron to get somehow flipped to like Cleveland personally. So for me, I'm like if that happens, I'll be thrilled. I just don't. I don't. Like I said, I'm not anticipating them to get anyone. I just don't think they. There's nothing where it like it feels like it fits. Hmm. No, the funny part is that's probably what the Nuggets are in for too. Hmm. Hmm. I wish I could like the Lakers, but it's like one of those things where every year I'm just like I'm less and less invested in the team. My problem with the Lakers is they sort of I feel like they're trying to be like the Dodgers where it's like they'll just run through everyone and anyone and they can't do that. And I think I don't want to be one of the people who say this is why LeBron fails. This is why LeBron's a failure in the NBA. But I'm sorry to think that's part of it. Is there's so much I like the pressure to win with him is just so immensely high that it has to be the thing where it's like, oh, this guy's not performing, get rid of him. Where it's like if you had Anthony Davis, it's not that big of a deal. Or hell, when it was Kobe, it was like it wasn't that big of a deal because they kept Farmar and Vujicic and it was fine. Smush Parker traded for Pau Gasol, great guy. Yeah, legend trade for Pau Gasol along with Kwame Brown. Mhm. Yep. Yeah. No, he didn't do the same thing in Miami. I mean, well, they kind of did because they had to play. They had to play. They had to, yeah, and their bench was made up of, yeah, Mike Miller. Like it was just like bubblegum and rec league guys. Hmm. Hmm. No, that's what I sort of laugh at. Where I'm like, you got to see the writing on the wall here. Where it's like LeBron's gonna be is a detriment at the end of the day when he leaves. You better be hoping and praying that that man retires or leaves this year or next year because you're gonna be in the perpetual position that you're in because you just don't have the cap space. I mean, no one in the league has it. Well, I mean, too, it doesn't help either that none of the Lakers stars are their homegrown. So it's not like they can even be like, oh, we can kind of maneuver it that way. But I wonder if that's probably part of the reason why they keep going after their old players is because they have to sign them and they have to sign them to bigger deals because they're their guys because they drafted them. It's the workaround of being like, oh, hey, we can spend the money on a little more on D'Angelo Russell because hey, he's our guy. We don't have to worry about the cap hit as much. So who cares? And then if we trade him, we trade him. Granted, I don't think I as much as be like, oh, bring the boy home. It's like, what the hell is he gonna bring to this team? Oh, he's better. He's a little better defensively, I guess. He's not. He can't start. Like what? Well, like somebody said was like, oh, well, maybe they can play him like 15 minutes, and I'm like, there's no other point guard. Like we don't have. What? That's yeah. That's the whole thing. Is like, yeah, he's the seventh guy off the bench, but that was my whole point when I was talking to him. Like, he's making 21 million. I'm like, you don't. Yeah, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it's not like baseball where it's like, oh, we can trade. Like, you can kind of like trade less value for it. You can't do that here. It has to be a money thing. And guess who's making that kind of money? Oh, it's Rory, it's Vanderbilt. It's like, yeah, you can try to trade them Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent and kind of be like, hey, but no one's gonna. But it's the whole thing of like, no one's gonna do that, even though it's like, oh, it makes sense from like a perspective standpoint of, hey, you guys aren't going anywhere. Maybe you can get a little more out of Gabe Vincent because it's saving you money, and we're taking a bad contract. So maybe it's possible they do it for something, but I don't see it. I think, or if there's a three team, if there's a three team where it's something like, oh, I don't even know who it would be. Vanderbilt. No, that's the whole thing. It's just a matter of, that's unless you're, yeah. No, that's sort of my point. That was sort of my point. Is I'm like, I don't think you understand the Lakers roster's not very good. Now, granted, every other team's in the same. Every other team in the league's in the exact same position. It's like Charlotte. It's all the bottom teams, right? It's like cool. Maybe you could dump him there, I guess. But it's like no one has the room, man. Like, and I don't think, and I know we've talked about this before, where it's like I don't think there's a lot. I don't think it's gonna be a very lucrative trade market. I think it's gonna be a very boring one. I don't think they're doing anything. No, that's the whole thing. Is I there's nothing. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna be doing anything. Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure at this point, speaking of Jimmy Butler, that I'm pretty sure that Pat Riley's just going to keep him there in purgatory for the rest of for the rest of the year because Jimmy sure shit ain't playing because he's got suspended again for 2 more games for missing a team flight. So we're in a pit there. He and Riley are in a pissing match. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the whole thing is, if he were to, and the best part, the thing is, and why I say this would be hilarious, it'd be funny, is because if he does that, the players union has to step in. It's like, hey, you can't just bench this guy because he's being a jackass. It'd be the same thing. You can't just like you just can't bench him. They have to waive him. They give him the UD treatment. That'd be funny. But then he gets what he wants. Yeah, he can go where the hell he wants. They sure as hell ain't doing that. You know what? Actually, no, buy him out. Then he'll go to Detroit. Mm-hmm. And he's gonna bully Kevin Durant. You call Bradley Beal and Kevin and Devin Booker bitches. In sports in general. Mm-hmm. To be fair, it's working pretty well for the Dodgers. my 2 cents isn't so much it's like new owner syndrome. I think it's the idea of I think the NBA's biggest problem is sort of the opposite of baseball's is good teams don't value draft picks and bad teams overvalue draft picks. So I think when you're in the position of the Suns were good and are still like fairly good, so you don't value your draft picks. You're kind of like, oh, we trade for assets. We trade them for assets to win now, and I think that's the biggest problem because hypothetically speaking, is that the Suns being good means they're going to get a late round pick, late round first round pick, trash. Second round picks even later, double the trash. So it's almost like if you're a new owner, why would you build a team when you're already good? You're not going to have, you don't have the capital to begin with because your picks are too good. Unless you're but unless you're the Wizards, where it's like the Wizards are like, yeah, we're gonna suck. It's gonna be a rough cup. It's gonna be a rough 2 to 3 years. You're gonna have to deal with it because we have that's the only way we can build. We're not gonna sign these guys because they ripped off the city of Los. They ripped off L.A. They ripped off the Clippers. Because I think they got if they didn't get to a finals in the last 5 years, I don't think I don't think they would have tried to do it, but because they did, yeah. Mm-hmm. How fluky the league was because all the good teams all the good teams couldn't do did all the teams who had deep playoff runs were burned already when the season started. Mm-hmm. Was this back? The Lakers, the world champ, the champion Lakers, basically had basically had to play 2 seasons back to back. The East, the East, the East was the same. The East was the same way. All the teams that went had deep playoff runs were awful because their guys were already tired. So I think if you yeah because I think if you look like the Bucks got eliminated early. I think the Heat eliminated them in the second round. The Suns didn't even make the. I don't think the Suns even made the playoffs that year. So you had a bunch of like all the teams that you were good disappeared for that season. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Because it was teams that got eliminated early had really good runs because they had time to rest. Yep. Yep. All the teams that like I said, the teams that got eliminated early had deeper runs because they weren't as tired. Because that season ended the season ended in what, like August, and then it picked up again in October. Yep. Yep. No, that's my point. So in their mind, they're like, "Oh, we were right there. We just had to get rid of Chris Paul, who's a loser." You know? No, that's my point. Is like all those teams that weren't good snuck in there. Like that was the that was the issue. And because of that, they're like, "Wait, we had stuff, we had assets, so we must have been close." I guess you weren't as close. But two, basketball's one of the sports where I think you can just throw guys together. They need to gel a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it's football. It's like you only have to worry about a certain area usually. So now is this our segue into talking about football? Um, I watched most of them. That game got exciting late, but I'm gonna. Can I'm gonna throw out something here, and I know you're gonna be like, eh. Darius Slay got away with 2 holds on that last drive against Puka Nakua, and no one said a goddamn thing because it was coming out of the route, hand on his hips, and I'm like, that's by the. I'm like, by the book holding, and the ref's just standing there, and I'm just like, this shit's fixed. They wanted to be Eagles Chiefs, and I'm like, he's holding him out of the route. You can't. And I fucking hate Chris Collinsworth for this reason. Is he just dick sucks anyone who's doing all the quarterbacks who do well, and I'm just like, he's holding his hip, you jackass. Like coming out of the route, Patrick Mahomes would have been throwing his tampons. Like, what are we doing? Like that. Also, Patrick Mahomes is just flopping away too. Oh, so I can find it. He was like Vlade Divac flopping over there. It was fantastic. It was something. Like Vlade Divac would have been. Oh, by the way, SGA dropped a 50 burger.
Second and goal.
54 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. I think the Joker ain't winning an MVP. Is losing an MVP. 54 points. 54 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. I think they played the Jazz. I love that's I just love the idea. It's just like that doesn't count. There's a couple. So this was. I'm gonna send you. I'll just message it to you. So there's the one where the two Texans defenders hit each other in the head, and he got a roughing the passer. I know that's what I said. I'm like, dude, Vlade Divac is like, even I don't flop that bad. That's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Yeah. Bro, I'm now watching a clip of Broncos legend Emmanuel Sanders just talking about how much Patrick Mahomes has hurt him. His exact words were, "I'm a grown man. He making me cry." Emmanuel Sanders on Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, bro, I feel that so much. That man has prevented you from winning so many times. The whole thing is the Texans played a good game. It was quite literally just like the penalties that he was getting were like absurd. and Joshua Allen. I will. It's 3:30, and I have a dinner I have to be at, so I will probably miss the latter half of that game. But I will be watching it. I will be watching it on my phone. You best believe. I couldn't care. Josh Allen's a monster. I think they both survive with the same problem, but here's the issue. I'm gonna tell you. I'll be honest with you. When it comes to both of them, the biggest difference between the two, dare I say, is I think um, Lamar Jackson, I think, can elevate his team. I don't think Justin Herbert can. And he's still, and even then, it's like you could argue, like my buddy points out, who is a Bills fan, if they didn't go for two early on, that when they scored at the end there, the game would have been tied. They're not going for two they're not going for two at the back end. They just kick one and send it to OT. So his argument was, he was like, I wouldn't be mad at if you're putting the finger at anyone, you got to point it at Harbaugh, for Harbaugh going for two and wanting to tie it early instead of just, yeah, and just being like, hey, we play within one score. And I know argumentatively you'd probably be like, well, you don't know. But I mean, I think in certain situations, especially in the playoffs, you're better off taking points. Just so you're not, or if you're gonna do or if you're gonna go for 2-point conversions, you're better off running like bootlegs to where you can just have Lamar run for him instead of like doing weird passes with a ball that's going to be very hard. It's cold, and you don't want to put your guys in positions like that. So I don't. Maybe Bryce will be like, you're just being softer on Lamar Jackson. It's like, no, I think Lamar Jackson, you can say like, oh, what the hell is he doing? But he also, too, who is his only receiver? Zay Flowers. So it's not like they're doing him any favors either with wide receivers. You have two tight ends, Likely and Andrews, I guess. And then you can run it with Derrick Henry. Oh, that's the whole point. And the whole thing is, yeah, because he got hurt last year. How healthy he. But it's just because here the reason why I will be harder on Justin Herbert and blame Herbert more and say Herbert's a bigger problem is Herbert had the guys. Herbert's had guys, and no matter what people like Bryce want to say and be all like, oh well, he only had this guy this year. They could have had Keenan Allen this year and Mike Williams. They traded them both. Now Mike Williams, you could whatever. But Keenan Allen could have helped. Keenan Allen could have helped. Like that's my whole point. Is like you can be like, oh, it's cap reasons or whatever. It's not on. It's whatever. Brother, you got rid of two weapons that easily would have helped him, and made that your new guy you got probably a very good slot receiver and not a number one, and he probably would have been way better. Like that's my point. That was my point the whole time. Is like you can't say like, oh well, he had no one to throw to. The guy's had a Hall of Fame wide receiver for years. He had Austin Eckler for years. The man had weapons. He didn't do shit. Like no, that's my point. Is like that's sort of my point. Is I'm like Herbert had the weapons, and the first time we were blaming the coach, but realistically, it's probably partially on Josh Allen because he's got to do stuff. But I'm like, it's the whole thing at the end here. I'm like, you paid him because you had to pay him, but internally they have to be like, what do we do? Do you want to? And just to prove how weird sports are, you want to know something funny? I can. Uh, who was with Miami? Who was Miami? Yeah, yeah. I would say the Ravens have like he gets more of that like no weapons thing. 'Cause he really hasn't had any weapons like at all. Well, they had I mean, they did have Hollywood Brown. Uh, I mean, I think he's okay. We want I want to share my fun stat because I thought this was hilarious. So Andy Dalton compared to Joe Burrow, their first 5 years in the league. You want to know something funny? Who do you think has more wins between the two? Andy Dalton has 50 wins to Joe Burrow's 38. And the funny part, so because somebody posted like, have the Bengals gotten worse with Joe Burrow? And I'm like, I thought it was funny. And then you look at all the other stats. Joe Burrow blows Andy Dalton clear out of the water in every other aspect other than wins. It was just the division it's the defense and that division they're playing in. That division's a bloodbath. Because when Andy Dalton was there, because I was wondering, I'm like, wait, so who was Andy Dalton facing? Oh wait, Andy Dalton was facing old man Ben Roethlisberger, old man Joe Flacco, whoever the Browns threw, whatever corpse the Browns threw out there, Brian Hoyer. I'm like, yeah, no wonder he's doing well. Oh, by the way, and the team, my former team signed their defensive coordinator, and they're saying, "Oh, it's such an improvement." I'm like, "Fucker was the defensive coordinator of the last place team, the Bengals defensive coordinator from last year." I'm not because they think it wasn't him; it was the players. I'm not kidding, and they're saying it was an upgrade, and they keep saying it was an upgrade, and I'm like, "Have you seen the Colts defensive players? They're worse." I was just laughing. I'm like, this is just pathetic. What did I say? What did I? Yeah, the Colts are hiring former Bengals DC Lou Anamario as their new DC, a major hire in Indy. And I put the picture of someone made a picture of the drunk Bugs Bunny with the carrot juice shot and put a Colts hat on him. I'm like, it doesn't end, does it? I'm like, how does he? I mean, I, I've heard plenty that people are like, it really was the player. It was the players because they didn't have anything. Well, in his to defend, I'm just gonna say this to defend the hire. Not that I care. Gus Bradley's a fucking moron. Gus Bradley has caused me more emotional pain because this motherfucker doesn't know how to blitz. And he sits in cover two with his thumb up his ass, and it's like, and he looks around like, what the fuck are we doing? It was like, I'm just like, because shockingly, cover two doesn't work anymore. You dumb motherfucker. Like, wasn't Gus Bradley a head coach at some point too? Yeah, that you know what? That's why they fucking sucked. He, shocker. This man was the Chargers defensive coordinator from 2017 to 2020. That Chargers defense sucked. The Raiders defense sucked the next year. No wonder this man's a piece of. This man sucks. Oh, that's why. I was like, why is this fucker getting jobs? Because he was the defensive coordinator for the Legion of Boom. That's why. So no wonder he hasn't called defenses because he had the best. Because he had the. Because he had the best. He had Prime Sherman, Bobby Wagner, and all these guys. Where it's like, if you can cover, they could run cover two, and it wouldn't matter. The man's winning record. Oh my god, his career high in wins was 5. Oh my god. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. They were 16th in takeaways and 28th in points. Holy crap. Holy crap. I think it was okay. I think it was okay because I remember it being very. I think they lost a lot of guys too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think they lost some. I think they lost. They lost like Eli. I know they lost like Eli Apple, who's not exactly the greatest, but he's a decent. He's solid. I think they lost a lot of like good guys. So like their only one like really good guy was like a rusher this year. So part of it, I think part of it was a personnel thing. So I think it was that's why everyone's like, it's really not what you think. Not that I care. I'm a Bills fan for now until they hurt me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm rooting. I'm rooting for America tonight, this weekend. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. Holding. Please, please, for in all that, in the name of all that is holy, if there is an actual God, He will make the Eagles and Chiefs lose. I think so. Okay. Mm-hmm. Joe Namath. Joe Namath. Joe Namath won it. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, sounds right. I know a lot of people said for a couple of years the Commanders were a quarterback away, and they never got that quarterback, and that's why they traded like Chase Young and what's his face last year. Sweat and Chase were traded. I mean, they still have a lot of talent on offense, but the whole thing is like, can that will that talent is that talent going to be enough to stop Saquon? Scary Terry. And I think they beat the Eagles during the regular season. I don't think they beat them twice. I think they beat them. Did they beat them twice? So they played him close. So I mean, I maybe I think they have a good shot because because I think the Eagles seems a little more one dimensional than people want to admit. Mm-hmm. And it's probably I think it's going to be another cold one, right? Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's going to be slush. It's supposed to rain this weekend or anything. It's going to be cloudy 40. I don't know. It's going to be 40 degrees at 3. Like, but it's going to be warm. It's going to be warmer. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see what's. I can't even see what Sunday is. Never mind. We're not there yet. I can see Friday. Can't see Sunday, but it's gonna be cold. So, so we're. I assume. I mean, I know it's gonna be the Eagles Chiefs, and I'm gonna hate my life. True, but the whole thing. Truth be told, I do think Josh Allen is primed and ready to. I think Josh Allen's taking it personally this year. I think he's on a revenge tour. So it wouldn't blow my mind if he did it. And plus the real fight is going to be Haley Steinfeld against Taylor Swift. We're the real game. That's the real game. The battle of good and evil. Yeah, but Haley's got Bill's Mafia on their side. They're psycho and they're lovable psychos. That's the best part. They'll Oh yeah, they'll drink you under a table, but then donate to your favorite charity at the end of after they beat you. Yeah, collectively to Mark Andrews charity, and they're like, good guy. Bill's like, they do this all the time. once the game's done, it's like, oh, this guy fucked up. Let's help him out. Uh, God damn it! It's gonna be Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey just walking around. Oh, God damn it! But their podcast is actually good. That's the funny. They're fine. I just love, but I would love the idea of them having to go to Super like Radio Row, just like going to Radio Row to record, and then they're just like they're not playing, but they have to like they have to yeah. Radio Row is so depressing. Especially when it's like in a boring city. Like it was in Tampa one year. Like when it was Tampa for the COVID thing, it was boring. Oh, that sounds awful. The thing about Radio Row that I hate is like it's just it's just people being shills because they all have like sponsorships. Like, oh, I'm here for Subway. Hey, is Russell Wilson going to be there for Subway? Yeah, they did because it was the stupidest ad ever. It was the dumbest ad of all time. Ooh, that is dangerous. That man says the same thing. I wanted to finish. Go back to Seattle. You know what? Send him back to Seattle. That sounds like a fun time. Wait, where's Pete Carroll? Oh, where's? Well, I mean, Pete Carroll isn't the Bears head coach. Van Johnson. So did the Eagles. So a couple years ago. I guess. I mean, Amon Ross St. Brown said, "I look forward to kicking his ass." Was tweeting at him saying, "I look forward to kicking your ass 2 games a year." And he's like, and he was just like, and Ben Johnson's like, "Same, bro." Like, the whole thing is, I'm like, that is legitimately just 2 bros who have battled each other. It's like, I'm gonna kick your ass now. You're an enemy. Yeah. So, hell yeah, brother. He he saw Jared Goff through college and he's like, I get the fuck out of here. You have a young quarterback who you can get all fancy pantsy with. I don't know if that's the right move, but whatever. I thought. Well, I think the assumption is around the league he's going to retire. I think he's yeah. I think he's going to retire because I don't think they're going to take him. I think they're going to draft somebody. I just don't. The whole thing is I don't know if that like I don't know if it's going to help the Jets. I don't think it's a needle mover. Unfortunately, I guess the only thing is like are because I mean I guess that means Hackett's gone. Nathaniel Hackett's an idiot. I don't think Salah's a good head coach. Somebody was saying Salah's is going to go back to the nine. He's going back to the Niners as a DC, and I'm like, that makes sense. Shit, fire Mike McDaniel's and bring Mike McDaniel's back with him. Let's get the band back together. Hell, hey, maybe Sean McVay can get maybe Sean McVay will come up north and be an OC. If they really wanted to win, they would have hired Rex Ryan. His brother Rob's the linebackers coach for USC now. Yeah, you know what my response was? Oh, now maybe they'll learn how to tackle. I think that's honestly the reason why they got him is I think their DC said, "Hey Riley, you need these guys to at least they need a tackle." because they don't know how to tackle. And I think getting someone like Rob Ryan, who one has the NFL experience, and two will definitely. Mind you, I think both he and Rex have like that whole like funny fat guy sensibility. But when it comes to football, it's very much like, hey, you're going to put your work in, and I think that's something they desperately need. That defense desperately needs is someone not. You don't need a drill sergeant per se, but you need a guy who's going to be like, hey, when we're out here, we're going to work. Yeah, like enough to just be. An, it's just the whole thing of like it's like the coaches like like those coaches who push you a little too hard where you're like hard and then you look back on it's like, oh, he wasn't that big of a dick. Well, especially in the whole thing is especially in the Big Ten, like you kind of need that because that team's gonna, especially when Ohio State's your defending champion. Yeah, Penn State, Michigan, where it's like they're just gonna run the ball, and they're just gonna. It's like, hey, you gotta raise up your competition. It's the SEC now. I think the SEC's dead. The Big Ten's taken over. You sure about that? I mean, Dave Portnoy says the SEC's been dethroned by the Big Ten. He's a Michigan guy. But the whole thing is, I will say this: I do think the SEC plays a softer brand of football compared to the Big Ten. They're not what they used to be in terms of like because they used to be the we're gonna run it down your throat kind of guys. Yeah, because the biggest thing, and that also doesn't help. The SEC will just cannibalize itself, which is part of the problem. The Big Ten's gonna start doing it though, as well. Although the Big Ten, the saving grace for the Big Ten, and I'm sure the SEC is going to do this next year, if not sooner, is if you can get out of like the West and East, the two division things, and just be the SEC. That kind of eliminates the cannibalization. Yep. And plus two, and on top of it, a lot of times the good teams are usually in the same division, so all they're going to do is just beat the shit out of each other because that's what happened. That was the Big Ten for years. That's why you kept getting Iowa because Iowa was the only good team in the East or West or something. Because it was Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State were in one. So one of those teams is going to have a couple losses. You eliminate the cannibalization with having like no one. Unless you're the Big 12, and then just wonkiness ensues. Oh, okay. Oh, good. Didn't help. Well, it didn't help. No, it didn't help. Two. That's it. Oh, Tennessee, yeah. So three. Mhm. Indiana. Mm-hmm. Jealous. No, I think we're good. He brought it up in my group chat.